Hello. Thanks for watching this video. Today we want to talk about Gradle 8.11. It's a new release that we shipped on November 11, and there is quite a lot of changes there. We wanted to ship it in October by Halloween, but something went wrong. So we had a few spooky bugs, and of course there will be much less memes today. It took some time to ship it because of multiple release candidates and a few regressions.
On November 20th, we also shipped the first patch release with a number of regression fixes.
Thanks everyone for testing, sharing feedback. It helps us a lot to make the release better. Also, thanks to all other contributors who shared code, submitted issues. Thanks everyone. In this release, we have multiple key updates. As always, we improve troubleshooting and developer experience. Now there is new HTML summary for reported problems. Also, there is better diagnostics for stack traces and Java compilation errors. Configuration cache got massive performance boost thanks to parallel loading, and there are many other improvements. For example, support for configuration cache in native builds, support for ARM on Linux in general, in C++ and Swift projects, and there is also new APIs for dependency management. Of course, there is much more. For all the information, as always, you can check out our release notes. There you can find all the information, upgrade guidelines, and should there be any issues reported, you can find them there too. So check out the release notes. Everything we are presenting today is there. Before we proceed, there is quite a lot of information on our resources. There is release notes, which I have just shown. Also, there is public roadmap, where you can find a lot of information about what's going on and what are our key initiatives. There is a newsletter with key updates, and the newsletter gets more and more updates. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And the November edition is coming out next week. Okay, that's it from me. Let's switch to the presentations, and the first item for us is Gradle troubleshooting. Let's go ahead, and first Balint will present on Java compilation.
Hi, I would like to show you a small yet impactful change to how the compiler's errors are being reported in Gradle from 8.11. In order to show you this change, I would just like to show you a little demonstration, just a main class and something which causes an error for us. In this case, we are returning the wrong time. Before 8.11, when you executed this, you were welcomed by basically the task saying to you that the task failed, the error log, and then in the very bottom, you had a failure message, compilation failed, see the compile error, output for details. And in this case, this looks nice and tidy and understandable because we can fit it into a screen. But many complicated software, Gradle included, might have thousands of lines of logs between where the error happened and the end, where you most often going to land if you open a CI or you just have a terminal open. So this is subpar. This is not good experience because you have to scroll up who knows how many lines to figure out the problem. So we are happy to announce that from 8.11, this is going to change, and you're going to have the same error report which happens in the task, also in the bottom as the summary, the very bottom summary part of the what went wrong segment in the log. You're going to have a summary of what happened in the compilation. Again, let's keep the mindset that between the two, there might have been lots and lots of lines. So hopefully this is going to come very handy to people who need to investigate Java compilation failures. And upon opening the log, immediately they are going to be welcomed by the error message. So just to recap, compiler errors are still reported just as before in the task log. And what's happening is that compile errors are now reported in the summary. This feature also works with continue. So if you would like to continue the execution and figure out all the compilation problems what you can have, this is going to work with that, and you will also have a nice collected report of all the compilation errors. Thank you very much for watching.
Thanks a lot for the presentation, Balint. And the next one is HTML summary reporting. So Reinhold will present. Let's go ahead.
Starting with the 8.11 release, we will generate an HTML problems report for every build invocation. The problems reported are currently Java compile issues, deprecation warnings, and dependency management issues. But the Problems API can be used by any plugin from now on, although be aware it's currently an incubating API. That means there is a low possibility that it changes until it's declared stable. The file location for the report is part of the console output of the build, as you can see here. The report itself has the look and feel of our configuration cache report. It shows a list of problems reported and provides 3 different ways of grouping the issues: by message, by group, and by locations. We think once the majority of components report to the Problems API, and the most popular plugins do that too, this provides an easy entry point to diving into the issues that need attention. We're looking for feedback on this, so please tell us what you think and where to improve. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And now let's continue with configuration cache. As I said, we have massive performance improvements, and there is already quite good statistics from the community. So let's check it out.
Before this release, the configuration cache would always be stored and loaded using a single thread. Often, on a cache miss, much of the work that happens while storing a new configuration cache entry goes into resolving and fetching dependencies. Using a single thread, that may lead to very long store times. In this release, we introduced parallel loading and storing of the configuration cache. This feature is incubating for now. While cache loading is now always in parallel, cache storage is only parallel if explicitly enabled. Let's see a quick demo using the now in Android project. Here you can see a previous version of Gradle using a single thread to store the configuration data for all the projects in the build. As you can see, storing the configuration cache entry took almost 3 minutes. Let's see how parallel store changes things. You can now see that configuration is being stored in parallel for each project. With parallel store, the storing of the cache entry took 1/3 of the time it took before.
The next item is configuration cache being enabled by default. So if you want to create new projects, you will get them with configuration cache. And let's take a look at the short summary.
Starting with Gradle 8.11, the Gradle init wizard generates project with configuration cache enabled. It is enabled through a gradle.properties file. Don't forget to check in the file into your version control of choice and enjoy faster builds. If for some reason you want to disable the configuration cache, you can change the property in the generated Gradle properties file to false.
One thing to mention is that if configuration cache doesn't work for you, we know that there are still some compatibility issues. There is actually a big project going on to ensure plugin compatibility. It was one of featured projects in Oktoberfest, and there is still a lot of opportunities for contribution. So if configuration cache doesn't work for you, there is still an opportunity to just disable it. For future use cases, of course, we highly recommend using it. And if you hit any issues, we will appreciate if you share them in the ticket that I just presented or on the community Slack. So thanks everyone for trying. It gets quite a lot of traction, and we hope to release it soon. Stay tuned for 9.0. Another important thing is support for native projects. It's not an item that often appears on our presentations, but now we have a few updates to show. So first of all, them is support for configuration cache, and we have a short summary video.
As you may know, Gradle has several plugins that allow building and testing native code written in C++ and Swift. In Gradle 8.11, we've updated these plugins to support the configuration cache. You can now try the configuration cache benefits in your native projects. Note, however, that this does not include older versions of native plugins based on the so-called software model.
And the next item is support for ARM64 and Linux operating system. So it's a patch by external contributor Matthew, who will present his change. Let's go ahead.
Hello, my name is Matthew von Mashevsky. I'm a senior software developer at Stardog. My contribution to this release is a small PR that adds support for compiling on Linux, ARM, or Arch64 platforms in C++, both for libraries and compiles. This was very easy and very small because all I did was go and find the same thing that someone else did for Macintosh M1 support, added a few lines for Linux, and then made the necessary edits for the web documents. Boom, it was done.
Thanks a lot for the presentation, Matthew. And one thing, if you do a major contribution to Gradle build tool, we would be happy to feature your change. So it's one additional motivation to do some contributions. Let's go ahead. And our next item is Dependency Management API. Actually, we have two improvements there. So Justin Madort will do the presentation.
The resolution result API now exposes the root variant of a resolution. This allows you to traverse graphs on a variant-aware basis, where previously it was not straightforward to do so. We've also written a new page in the user guide that describes how to use this API and other similar ones. We've introduced an API to request the feature of a target component, such as a project's test fixtures or any feature created with the register feature API. This new functionality is isolated projects compatible, and the existing test fixtures functionality has been migrated to use this feature.
Okay, and that's it for the videos today. There is much more changes that have been shipped. Again, check out the release notes. We have all the information there, and all demo videos are already published on Gradle YouTube channel. We will be publishing more and more, including shorts there. And again, if you contribute to Gradle or a core plugin, we are happy to highlight your contribution. For the rest, public roadmap, newsletter, everything is up to date. This time we are not doing update for documentation, but you might have seen that there are quite a lot of changes going on there. We will publish it as a separate video soon. And that's it from me. So if you have any questions, join us on the community Slack. There we have a Gradle release discussion channel where you can ask any questions about new features. There are other channels for key items like Problems API, configuration cache, and other items. So if you use Gradle, if you have any problems, this is actually a very interesting resource for you to consider. That's it from me. Thanks a lot for your time, and see you soon.